So what does Shenmue mean to me? To me, Shenmue represents many things. First of all, it represents what I consider to be the end of the Sega which we all knew and loved. The Sega who had dared to take risks and would always be working towards amazing new concepts and ideas for their games. Shenmue was a pinnacle in gaming which unfortunately came out far too early to be truly appreciated. Had the game come out during this generation, I do believe that the game would have had a greater success and far better sales, as well as appreciation for what it actually was. I won't go into too much detail about the game, since that's what Michael has done for us already, but the game did introduce so many new concepts and ideas which today are quite normal in games. The idea of a large-scale, real moving, breathing world was something never done before in a game, or at least not to the extent which was seen in Shenmue. Every character spoke, had something to do, and it really was incredible. Also, the idea of having such freedom to do what you wanted in a game was also a whole new concept back then. Again, at least for a game which was trying to emulate the real world. Combine this with the amazing story and it made something incredible.
I guess to start off with, how I found out about the game would be a good place to go. I was actually in a local newsagent's as a young lad, just flicking through the magazines like I normally did, and I came across an official Dreamcast magazine. I was just flicking through it and you know, checking out what was what, and I came across an article on Shenmue which was currently being developed at the time. Saw some screenshots and stuff and decided to read on, as you know, they caught my interest, and I was just blown away by some of the stuff that Yu Suzuki was proposing that would actually, you know, be in the game and what you'd be capable of doing. And at the time I didn't feel that any of this would be possible, given, you know, the current state of computer technology. I just didn't see it happening. And lo and behold, when the game was actually released and I got my hands on it, I was pleasantly surprised to find that it actually met up to all the hype, which is something that we all know doesn't tend to happen a lot with computer games nowadays.
So yeah, Shenmue. I remember when I first got it, it would have been Christmas, and I always had Christmas money, and I remember going to it was Game Zone, it was called, this little place in the market, we only had about 3 stores around Shropshire, and I remember we had Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2, and I could have bought either, but obviously I went for Shenmue 1 first. And I remember getting home, I wasn't actually really too hyped up about playing it, to be honest, because I hadn't really known too much about it, to be honest with you. And I remember putting it in and playing through it in the whole opening cinematic, you know, the amount of times I've seen that from restarting the game, just incredible.
I remember I left work and I went to pick this game up and snagged it. I grabbed the special edition here. I got home, just turned on the Dreamcast. I didn't have dinner or anything. I just sat down. I think it was like 4:30 in the afternoon, and I put in the disc, and the game began. Wow. It starts off with the opening with your father, sorry for the spoilers, father getting killed. It's kind of like it takes place after that, with you thinking or wanting to take revenge, and you have to do a little bit of research first, obviously, but I just remember when you first left the house, I couldn't believe it. I remember, you know, the doors opened and I walked outside and this eerie music played. I just remember I stopped the game, I sat there and I just listened to the music for a second. I was like, wow, this is going to be a great game.
Believe it or not, I actually first heard about it in a national newspaper here in the UK, and I already had a PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and various other sort of consoles and computers. I didn't own a Dreamcast at this point, so when I first read about this game, Shenmue, I was quite intrigued by certainly the way the article was written. The way it talked about the kind of weather system, you know, how 1 minute it could be, you know, raining, or it could be a bright sunny day, or it could be windy or snowing, and all that kind of stuff. I just thought that added a different sort of layer of realism that a lot of other games didn't have up until that point. So believe it or not, I actually bought the Dreamcast solely to play that game because it just sounded so good.
I first came to own a Dreamcast after they bombed and the price dramatically dropped. I actually spotted one in a local pawn shop for about £60, So I just picked the thing up and went and bought Shenmue 1, brand new at the time, because although the price of the console was dropped, they were still selling games for it. So I went and picked that up, and I was really just blown away by the fact that it was the first game to have a really open world and you know, an element of freedom of choice.
I remember putting it in and playing through it in the whole opening cinematic. You know, the amount of times I've seen that from restarting the game, just incredible. But yeah, I remember watching it and like being blown away, and I was eager to like. There's one of those ones where you're watching it and you just get really eager to actually start playing it. And when I was, it was like the level of interaction in it was just unbelievable. And it's like one of those ones, I've said it before, it's like there's so much interaction with it, but it just makes you want to do even more in a game. And I remember like playing games like San Andreas, where you can like go in some of the shops and stuff. You know, I was disappointed when you couldn't actually interact with more in the shops than that, because you know, obviously it came one after Shenmue did, and it kind of bumped up the standards you expect for games, really.
The thing about Shenmue, which was so cool, is that you could go anywhere and do anything you wanted to do. Like, you could walk into somebody's house, go to a drawer, open it up, and leaf through the stuff. Or I always remember being able to go over to a bowl of fruit and, you know, just putting your hand inside and pulling out an orange and just looking at the orange. It was, you know, it sounds like the most hilarious thing ever, but at the time, it was so damn amazing. It was so cool to have that kind of freedom to do whatever you wanted to do at any given time.
It's like going around, like interacting with anything I could, see what I could find.
But yeah, just the level of immersion and, you know, how much you got involved with the story really allowed you to take your time and explore the world and discover things for yourself and you know, evolve your character in certain ways as well. I guess the first thing with the whole, you know, freedom of choice thing is that you really, from the moment you get up, have a choice in where you go and what you do.
Talking to all the random people that are in streets, and
yeah, the characters were very realistic, but they would all react to you in a completely different way, and some wouldn't even speak to you at all, which you know, again, it just added to the whole thing. And
I thought it was a good story. Like, the story had me in, and I'm gonna get back to it again. The voice acting, some of it is hilarious.
You know, you just sort of have a bit of a laugh and a giggle with it. Oh yeah, you know, he's looking for a place where sailors hang out. Ooh, hello.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just sort of adds to the charm of the game, and I think that's one of the things that's elevated the game to a cult status now, is that you know, a lot of people look back on it so fondly, you know, with the memories of, you know, stuff like that just made them chuckle, and also, you know, characters like Goro, who were just, you know, for me was just freaking hilarious, and I think he was intended to come across that way as well. But
and then of course you had, you know, very good sort of storyline, similar to a degree, I guess, to some of the Final Fantasy stuff. It had the kind of element of danger and the sort of love theme going on, and all the sort of different characters that came in and out of the game. Then you've got the combat system.
There was also training. You know, you could literally just go to a park somewhere and just, you know, practice your moves and improve your proficiency with them.
I remember sitting for an entire Saturday training in a park, just learning my moves, and I just practiced them over and over. And the more you practice the move, the better at it you would get, the more damage and all that you could do. And I just love that aspect. I thought it was really great.
You know, it was better than some games that were solely for, you know, designed as a beat 'em up. And I suppose, you know, having watched Michael's in-depth retrospective, I can see now the origin behind it was obviously from the sort of fighting genre.
You can either go to the dojo and start sparring with Fukusan, or you can head into town and try and pick up clues as to, you know, where to go next. Or
another thing that interested me was the fact that it had a built-in arcade, which had some of the arcade classics from Sega's kind of glory days.
You get involved in, you know, the mini games in the arcade. There was capsule toys to collect.
Capsule toys alone? You know, maybe I should buy another. How could I resist? I had to buy another.
Spend my money in the arcade and on shops trying to win all the raffle draws and all that. It was just amazing. And the fact it was like Saturn in the living room.
And it's also, again, a shame that the Sega Saturn version didn't come out, because from what I could see, It was really pushing the boundaries of the system, and it looked pretty much complete. So that's kind of a curious one, but
it was pretty endless, to be fair.
And I just love that aspect of it. And some people, this game wasn't for them. And this is one thing I will say about Shenmue right now. This is fact. People, in my experience, either love Shenmue, like me, or they hate Shenmue. They thought it was boring. They were waiting for something to do. They were like, oh, I walked into town and there was nobody to beat up. And well, it's not really that type of game. It's more of a experiencing the world type of game and experiencing the story. I just like the idea there was like a free, open world. And that at the time was something I hadn't really seen with these caliber of graphics. It was really different, it was really new.
The kind of weather system, you know, how one minute it could be, you know, raining, or it could be bright sunny day, or it could be windy or snowing, and all that kind of stuff. I just thought that added a different sort of layer of realism that a lot of other games didn't have up until that point.
And it just promised so much stuff. And did it deliver? In my eyes, yes it did.
You know, it isn't just really a game, it is literally an experience, and the fact that the price of it has actually come down. It never really seemed to come down. Like, the cheapest I've ever seen them was 20 quid, which is like at the time for a second-hand copy. And then the price seemed to go up from thereafter. People like selling it with saying it was worth 40 quid, and now you can get Shenmue 2 for like, I've seen it go for 90 quid. Because we were lucky enough in Europe to actually get Shenmue 2 released over here, and it's North America we didn't actually get it.
And after that, of course, then I've just managed to find my copy of Shenmue 2.
We weren't allowed to get Shenmue on the Dreamcast. Shenmue 2 was cancelled, and a lot of people were pissed off at the time. I was one of them. I mean, I was choked. I was like, come on. Like, you kind of wanted it on a Sega machine at the time, and you just finished playing Shenmue, and you wanted to import your data from the first game into the second game. That's what you wanted to do. Well, now you're being told that you couldn't do it, so a lot of people were upset about it. But there was a glimmer of hope, and that was the PAL Europe release of Shenmue. It got released in Europe before they decided to cancel the American version of the game.
And yeah, I remember Shenmue 2 when I first got that. I put it in this whole new area, and which is huge. I remember as well because it was the first bit you start in, and then you go through to is it Aberdeen, or it's called. There's the two main areas in the first two discs. I remember you go through to the second part, and then I remember like getting completely lost. Cause I was like, I want to get back to the bit I was in at the start. And we're getting completely lost, not knowing how I was supposed to get back there.
Even bigger game, and you know, more complicated, and more kind of stuff to do. Shamefully, I've not actually completed this yet. I think I must have been pretty close. I remember there was a section where you had to go and do these sort of fights with these people, and then you get more information. The only thing I suppose, if I had to criticise it in any way, was the fact that you would go to do this particular task, and you would kind of feel like, okay, this is it now. I'm going to finally find out what's happening, and really that would then just lead on to the next thing. So there was a slight bit of repetition, but
there's the whole thing about the Shenmue for everyone still. Soon there's going to be a Shenmue 3 or a Dreamcast 2. But to be honest, yeah, I hope that it kind of isn't, because, you know, as much as I love the Shenmue games, it was meant for the Dreamcast, really, wasn't it? Even though it was originally made for the, going to be made for the Saturn. In the end, it was a Dreamcast game, and, you know, you want it to stay that way.
So many people are still dead keen on the game and really want a third one made.
And then on top of that, of course, yeah, thinking that maybe that's the end of it, the end of part 2, I need to learn that then it still isn't finished, and there's going to be a part 3.
We never got Shenmue 3. And any of you guys who are watching, who are Shenmue fans, you feel like I do.
But I feel that there's enough people now that are, you know, looking back on the games with great nostalgia and still own copies of it. You know, I still play through it with my little brother. I've introduced him to this game as, you know, part of my childhood, and now it's part of his too, and it's something that we've played through together and actually bonded over, which is, you know, you can't put a price on that.
There's definitely some fans out there that are really excited about this game, and I think it just deserves a third game, just to end it. there's no ending to Shenmue.
And more than anything else, he as well wants to know the ending. You know, does Ryo get revenge? Are Nozomi and Dio reunited? What level of skill does Dio actually attain? You know, does he become an absolutely incredible fighter? Does he gain some kind of mystical powers from the sword at the end of the second game? These are all questions that really need answering. The story is complete. Yu Suzuki did actually finish the story. So even if there isn't going to be a game, which, you know, would be a crying shame, but even if there wasn't, I think that, you know, a book would, you know, sort of a manga or something like that would be the least that could be done to satisfy everyone's curiosity, because anybody that's played it, that loves it, wants to know how it finished, and it feels so unfair that after 10 years we still don't have the answers.
Guys, I love the Shenmue series. I love these games to death. I'm such a huge fan of this small franchise. It was supposed to be a bigger franchise at the time.
In closing, these two games have been a huge part of my life over the last 10 years and will continue to be so for a long, long time. To me, they're a lesson in what gaming should be. Not about graphics, online play, how many copies you sold or how much money you made, but how many gamers you inspired with your story, and how much a player should feel a part of the world you've created. I feel that gaming's lost its way in recent times, which is why I'll keep playing these games, to relive the story of Dio and his adventure.
Check it out, it's a fantastic series. Until next time.
I spent a long time playing through that game, exploring all the areas, opening all the drawers in the Hazuki house, collecting all the action figurines from the dispenser machines, and just playing all the amazing AM2 arcade games such as Outrun. Man, they were some good times. One of my favourite little Easter eggs was also seeing a Sega Saturn in the Hazuki household. There were many amazing moments in Shenmue for me. The fights in the warehouse were amazing, the forklift racing was also quite cool. Not to mention the story though. I mean, I don't know, the atmosphere of the whole game was just, it was just incredible. I used to love running around the town at night time, just listening to the relaxing music, looking at the starry sky, seeing the plane fly over the sky, and just seeing all the houses lit up and everything. I don't know, it was just such an amazing atmosphere, it really was. But enough of my ranting and sidetracking. Many months later, Shenmue 2 finally arrived. Back then I didn't have internet, and I also didn't really bother collecting games magazines, so when I went into 5th Dimension one day to see a copy of Shenmue 2 on the shelf, man. So Shenmue 2 was finally in my hands. Many things changed from the first, but they were all good things, such as bigger places to explore, more people to interact with, better features as well, such as being able to mark special areas on maps. Oh man, that was so handy. Again, the story also kept me going, and even though I was young, I still was able to really enjoy the game, but as I mentioned, I've only come to appreciate just how special it is now that I'm older. So yeah, there are many amazing things about the Shenmue series. So just before I round up, I also just want to talk about the music. The game just has some of the most incredible music ever written. I mean, wow. Or some of the more powerful and really emotional scenes between Ryo and Nozomi as well as the rest of his family. It just sets an incredible atmosphere, and wow, I just can't even describe it. There's no other game I can think of that comes close to what Shenmue has. Shenmue will always be a legend in gaming, and those who have never played the game before for the story and the experience are truly missing out on something so special. There's a reason why so many fans are still crying out for the final chapter to end the saga for once and for all. Myself and everyone else can only hope that one day Sega will be willing to take that chance and finally give us what we've all been waiting for. So, to leave you with the wise words of Iwao Hazuki, those who follow the path of the warrior must be ready to die, in order to stand for one's convictions, to live for one's convictions, and to die for one's convictions. That is how I live my life. It is up to you to discover your path and follow it through.
No. Father! No!
すぎる海へつながるほど潮の香り運ぶよ愛しさが優しい